Okay. Well, I guess we are recording.
Oh, yep. I see the little recording button.
Yeah, and so hopefully you'll get a link and you can just download it. So I guess we'll get to find out. Okay.
That works.
All right. Well, hi, my name is Mike, and I'm here with Natalie Paris. And the purpose of this, I've been writing blogs for her for a few weeks, and we decided to do a little bit of a different format and record a video so y'all can actually get to know Natalie. You can hear her, see that she's a real person. It's actually kind of fun to talk to, believe it or not. And so I'm just going to act as the interviewer. I'm gonna ask her some questions, and she's going to answer. And I hope you get the information you want. And just an FYI, she is very easy to work with. So we're going to lead off with that. And she is a bookkeeper, and she's been, we're going to get into how long she's been doing that, some other things. So Natalie, how long have you been a bookkeeper, and why did you choose bookkeeping as a profession?
So I have been in the bookkeeping profession, I would say, for about 5 or 6 years now. I've been a full-time bookkeeper for 3. But before that, I had a couple other jobs, and I would just work for a bookkeeper or a CPA part-time. And when I was managing a shop, that was part of my duties as well. And so that kind of gave me a little bit more in-depth knowledge on how to be a bookkeeper. And then when I decided to start my own business, my own virtual business, I, chose bookkeeping because I had a good background in it. And I enjoyed the number side of things, especially when they line up really well. And so that's kind of when I decided that, this would be a good direction for me to go as far as a profession. And, definitely helping business owners, because a lot of business owners have a hard time understanding the finances because they're really good at what they do, whether that be baking or fixing cars or doing lodging. That's what they're good at. Finances might not be their strong suit. And so that's kind of how I got into what I'm doing.
Very cool. So you mentioned in there that you were working in managing a shop. What type of shop were you managing?
It was an independent automotive repair shop. So there were 3 techs, and then I was the service manager. So I was just at the front end of the house, taking the appointments, talking to customers, ordering parts, talking to sales reps, those kinds of things. So that's what that job was all about.
Okay, so that gave you a very good insight into what goes on in the customer facing part of automotive shops, and also working with the techs, and so you've got a pretty well-rounded experience in everything automotive shop, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of where I really started getting into the automotive industry. Prior to that, I was a sales rep for Napa, and that's kind of what led me into being the manager at this one particular shop, because they were looking for a new service manager. But yeah, it was a great experience to be able to, see the ins and outs of the shop, the front of the house, the back of the house, how the techs work, how, getting parts ordered, getting things ready for customers, that kind of thing. It was a really great experience, really, really cool.
Oh, that's awesome. That explains to me why that is the niche you are working to serve is automotive repair shops.
Yep, that would explain it.
Yeah. Now it's all come together.
It all makes sense.
I understand. Yeah. Well, that does make a lot of sense, because if we're familiar with how the inner workings of a shop and everything, that gives you a kind of an insight that a lot of bookkeepers that have never been involved in the automotive industry or in a shop, they may not have that insight that you do. So you know what it's like to, work there and deal with all the different things that happen inside of it. So that's cool. That's a really great nugget to let everybody know that you've actually been there and done that, even though you're doing everything from the comfort of your home computer now, instead of actually going and seeing people. But no, so that's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
So the opening question is, to kind of get into this a little bit deeper, is why is bookkeeping more than just data entry?
Ooh, that's a good one. So when people think about bookkeeping, they do usually think about just data entry. However, there is a good way to do the data entry, and then there is a bad way to do the data entry. But what you can do with that, we're in 2020 now, so a lot of that can be automated. Things can be synced with QuickBooks. And so the data entry part of it is kind of going to the more automated side.
Mhm.
So what bookkeeping really has become is, hiring an advisor or a bookkeeper or an accountant to look over your finances, make sure that everything's categorized properly. Because when you go to do your taxes, you definitely want those things categorized correctly so that you don't have the IRS coming and pounding at your door wondering like, oh, well, what was this money spent for? Well, do you have receipts for that? No? Okay. Well, now you owe us, 10, 20, $30,000 in taxes. Because all of that data wasn't properly recorded. And so that's just really the basis of what a bookkeeper does and how a bookkeeper can help a business owner. But then if you have good financials and you have all of your data entry in properly, you can create good financial reports. And that's kind of where the magic really starts to happen, because you can see where your money is coming in, where it's exactly being spent to, and then you can create a plan. You can say, do we want to expand? If am I running into a shop owner that's ready to retire in 5 years? That's definitely something to think about, as far as either selling or shutting down, or, those are all part of the process of running a business. And so I can help take that information. And, I had a business owner just yesterday ask me, I just took him on recently, and he's like, where am I bleeding out money? And so now my next goal is like to go in and find out and give him an exact answer. And he sent me an email today, and he kind of already knows, because we've already had certain conversations of like separate business and personal, don't make personal purchases through the business, and don't lease out expensive cars and things like that. So, but yeah, that's kind of where it really starts to go from just bookkeeping into an advisory role to really give those business owners a peace of mind financially, so they can run their businesses and sleep at night. It's huge.
Yeah. So you're kind of like a human sleeping pill in a way.
You could say that. Yeah.
No, that's really exceptionally good. So you kind of already answered this, but if you got any other methods or techniques that you use that would make you more of an advisor than a data entry person? I mean, you talked about that a little bit, but if there's anything else you want to add to it, go for it.
Yeah, there are definitely a couple other things. One service that I offer, I call the financial roadmap. And most people know this as the budget, but everybody hates the word budget. So I call it a financial roadmap because it's a lot more fun to deal with a financial roadmap. But that's kind of exactly what it is. It's a roadmap to help us get you from point A to point B, whatever that point B might be. Another tool that is in my arsenal is something called benchmarking. And some people might not necessarily know what benchmarking is, but it's kind of a way to take your specific business's financial numbers and compare them to your competitors. It's industry specific, size specific. So it could be, we're dealing with an automotive shop that's grossing $250,000. So we're going to compare those numbers to other auto shops that are grossing roughly $250,000 a year to see, are you spending too much in payroll versus your competitors or your industry averages? And that's a really, really good tool to have, because then it kind of really gives you an idea of, are we spending too much money on payroll or rent or, different things? And then you can go back and negotiate with your landlords or vendors, or figure out some other key numbers to help you get within those benchmarks. So those are kind of definitely some high level services that you can get just from extracting basic data entry, which is really cool.
Yeah, I can actually see that how that would be extremely valuable to somebody who's trying to remain competitive. If you can
Yeah.
find out what your competitor is doing and do it better, then it's going to be better for your bottom line and your upside as well. So that's good stuff. I think I want to hire you. And that's a little bridge to the next one. If I were a brand new client trying to find a bookkeeper, what would that I would want to bring on more as a team member and all that? What kind of qualities should I be looking for?
So if you were a client looking for a bookkeeper, um, you definitely want to look for a bookkeeper that is highly knowledgeable in their field. I know there are a lot of people out there who have either a manager or a sister, brother, mother who just kind of do it on the side.
Mhm.
And there are definitely some, there's value in that, but you don't maximize your value
Mhm.
because I've been there. I've worked part-time for a bookkeeper and a CPA, and I can tell you that my level of knowledge in the industry has grown significantly since I've moved to focusing on it full time. The numbers are accurate. I always say, if you're putting garbage into your financials, you're going to get garbage out. Garbage in, garbage out. If you're
Right.
putting good numbers in, you're going to have good numbers out. You're going to be able to maximize your tax savings, things along those lines. So yeah, look for someone who is industry specific, does it full time, isn't just doing it part time, or just kind of does it to make a little cash on the side. And then someone you get along with, because you're building a relationship with your bookkeeper. And I know a lot of businesses have a very intimate relationship with their bookkeeper in the sense that I deal with people's finances. It is a very sensitive subject. And so
Mhm.
you need to be able to work well personally with your bookkeeper. So those are just, I would say, a couple things
Okay.
to look for when looking for a good bookkeeper.
Well, that's really valuable information. Appreciate that. So,
Yeah.
how often do you recommend reviewing the books in the businesses that you work for?
Ooh, so that can be kind of size dependent.
Mhm.
I would say overall, at least once a month is pretty good.
Okay.
And that can go even for businesses or shops that are grossing, a million plus. Um, I'd say monthly is about the bare minimum. If someone is really trying to turn the business around, weekly could be a really good thing to do just to see
Okay.
how everything's flowing. Anybody who's really, really small, you can get away with quarterly, but then you kind of get a little distant from the big picture of where are you going? What do you want to do? How are the finances actually flowing through the business? So I would say at least monthly is a pretty good benchmark for that.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what would you say would be a good frequency to actually have just conversations periodically and maybe, you know, of course, starting out, you're probably going to be a little bit more in a communications mode where you get to learn more about what the business has going on or the shop has going on. But once you're established, you know, do you typically, would you contact your clients just to, if something if you find an area where they can improve, or how, is there any rule of thumb for that, or is that just kind of on a case by case as far as communicating?
So I think it's probably case by case. However, when I work with my clients, I am always in their books at least once a week just to stay up on top of things, income, sales, bank deposits, expenses, because I don't like to see things pile up.
Hmm.
And so I might be in touch with a client once a week if there are a lot of transaction questions or they're making some certain changes. At bare minimum, I contact my clients once a month, and
Okay.
that's primarily through email. And one thing that I've started doing that a lot of my clients really, really love, especially the ones that don't understand the finances, is I do a screen recording of their QuickBooks file, and I'll pull up the three reports, the profit and loss, the balance sheet, and the statement of cash flows. And I will explain everything that I'm seeing, and I will point out anything that's sticking out. Like, I think you might be spending a little bit too much money over here, but this is what these numbers mean. And it's really helped a lot of my clients to start understanding the finances so that they know what to look at every single month when I'm sending them these reports. Because if they don't understand what they're looking at, then it's just it's useless. So that's where me kind of being an educator and supporting my clients in that has really added some significant value, which is really cool.
Oh, that sounds that leads me into the next question, and it's kind of a two-parter, so I'm just going to put them both together. And you've pretty much covered, like I said, you've given me a lot of this is kind of what sets you apart. But so what does set you apart from other bookkeepers that are, say, servicing your same clientele, and why should I add you to my team?
So I would say if there's, at least one thing that sets me apart, I mean, I feel like I've already said several things.
Yes, you have.
Communication is probably the biggest one. I've taken on clients that have hired other bookkeepers or CPAs or accountants or whatever whatever their situation needed at the time. And they said, we never heard from them. We're paying them monthly for whatever service they're providing, and we don't ever hear from them. So I usually try to at least once a month ask how things are going. Do you have any questions? Is there anything I'm missing? But that open door communication policy really, really helps on top of the financial roadmap and doing the video recordings of the financial statements. Are just a handful of things that can really set me apart, because it's my goal, it's my job to make sure that my clients understand what they're looking at. Because I might be biased, but I think the financials for a business are one of the most important things any business needs to take care of.
Well, yeah, if you don't have healthy financials, you don't have a healthy business, and pretty soon you don't have a business.
Exactly.
So that makes sense. So, is there anything else you would like to kind of add to what you've told me, or, can you give me an idea of your little corner of Alaska? What's that like? I mean, what is the demographic or the area or your population size of the town you live in, that kind of thing? It's one of those things I'm kind of curious about. So
yeah, no, absolutely. It's a lot of people seem to be intrigued when I say that I live in Alaska. I do operate 100% remotely. I've got clients in Florida, California, East Coast, West Coast. So it is possible for me to work from anywhere. So I live in this little place called Talkeetna, Alaska, and it's a town. We have about, 2,000 people who live here year round. So it's a very small little town. We do see a jump in numbers in the summer because it is highly tourist related in the summer. We're about 60 miles south of Denali. So on a good day, you can see Denali, which is the largest mountain in the U.S. Very cool. But living here is part of the reason why I started my business, because I'm not usually one to live in normal places. You could ask my mom, she says it all the time. I've lived in places like Leadville, Colorado, which is a very quirky little town in Colorado.
Yes, it is. I've actually been there a couple of times. Yeah.
And
place,
now,
though.
it's great. It's gorgeous. And now I'm living in Talkeetna, which is very similar, very small, quirky. But that also kind of creates a limit on career opportunities and making good money opportunities. And so that's kind of when I decided, well, this would be great. I can work from home. I can serve the people that I need to serve and help them have successful businesses and still live in this cool little quirky town. So
nice.
Yeah, it's fun. It's been a good adventure.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You may get a knock on your door before you know it. Not that I know your physical address, but anyway, and that's just the beauty of this virtual world that we live in and work in and all of this is by way of ending. Natalie and I actually met at a networking group that meets totally online. And
Yep.
I'm actually sitting in Colorado, which is her home state, and she's way up there in Alaska.
Yeah.
And so it's a really kind of cool thing, and that's one of the little hiccups and barriers. If that is giving you pause as far as engaging with Natalie and actually, hiring her and for her services, I would encourage you to not let the virtual part of this thing give you any type of hesitation at all, because I can recommend her really, really highly as far as a good communicator and very easy to work with. So, by the way, if this video doesn't serve you really, very well, you can blame me, because I'm the guy that talked her into this, because I just thought it would be a really great idea for you to get in just a little bit of who Natalie Paris is. And based on this conversation, I can tell you that I have no doubt you're an exceptionally good bookkeeper, just because of the things that you laid out. And so I look forward to writing about some of that stuff that you laid out. Your little tools there look like that might be worth a blog post.
But yeah,
So
I think we've come up with some ideas here for the next month's
absolutely.
blog posts.
Yeah. So have you got anything else you want to say before we close this down?
I don't think so. This has been great. It's a new platform of communication,
Yeah.
and it's awesome.
So I'm just going to toot her horn one more time. If you're looking for a bookkeeper, maybe you're dissatisfied with the one you have, or maybe you're just getting started and you need some advice from the ground up, I'm going to encourage you to contact Natalie. And when she posts this, she'll have her contact information with it. And just have a conversation with her and see if y'all are a good fit for each other, and how she can help you out. So I hope this has been of value, and I hope y'all have a wonderful whenever you're looking at this. So thank you very much, Natalie. It's been a real blast getting to know you better. So
Yeah, thank you,
very much.
Mike.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.